here. You can buy me a coffee. Mama at gmail.com. There we go. Did I do that right? No, I didn't. Hold on. Good morning. I can't even. GURU.com. Got a bunch of stuff on the go here today. Yeah. I got buy me a coffee going on. So people can buy me a coffee. And I mean, here it is, people. Life we know is crazy and rough. We also have what do we have going on? We also have the Mother's Day special. So I do have readings on sale for $88. I have my Sacred Summer special. That's Sacred Summer series, which is for 3 months. It's $100. So it's a wonderful, beautiful membership for you. And you'll be working with me. You're still going to be working with me one-on-one, live, and the whole bit. And then I have my fire series, my fire workshop, which is on the 24th of May. I am really wanting and trying to really get this. I've been off the ground. I've been doing this, but to create a all-round business, right? And I want to be able to be a spiritual guide. I no want to. I am a spiritual guide. I am a psychic medium. I am a spiritual love of life coach. I am an astrologer. And I want to be able to do this in a way that is not only bringing you the 411 and the shenanigans of the world around you, but also to create where I am able to continue to do this, to be able to come to you live every day. And um to do this work is it costs money. Would I love to be able to sit in a beautiful place and just be able to do this for no charge? Would be absolutely wonderful. If I didn't have to worry about cable, rent, and all of everything else to do with it. And I know everybody else has their issues and has their things, but in order for me to continue being the spiritual guide for you all and to be able to show up each and every single day, I ask that you please help to fund me at this time. Right now, I am trying to raise funds to keep things going. Keep the cable on, keep not the cable, the internet going, and keep the lights on. So if you would like to contribute to helping me along my way, either by buying a reading, by doing registering for the next 3 months, we also have moon readings coming up. And I mean, all of that, I mean, I have to pay subscriptions for many of that to keep it going and to do that. This is this is important. This is my job. This is what I do. And in doing that, if I was in a if I was in a church, the plate would be going out for donations to keep an overhead going along. It's like got to keep the roof on, got to keep the lights on, got to keep things going. So I am really asking for donations at this time to help to keep things going, right? So on that note, and sometimes it feels like, I see it's a hard, that's the thing in being a spiritual person and doing this work. It's you do have to ask for help. And I think that's the humbling thing about it. And sometimes it's like it's not easy to do. It really isn't, to be able to ask for help. And I know many people are they don't like when I ask for help, or they get upset that I ask for help. But it is where either doing this or I don't know, go wash dishes, I guess. We'll see what happens. So let's get into the astrology. So One of the things that in looking at the astrology today and looking at the world today, no matter what the noises in the world today, we must stay stable. In whatever life is throwing at you, you must stay stable. And in staying stable is really allowing yourself to surrender, allowing yourself to ask the divine, I'm asking, the dear Heavenly Father and Mother to stay stable in today's world and to stay stable in my own world, because this is what's going on. This is what I'm confronted to, and surrendering it to it. And this is where sometimes our minds can go into a spiral. Our minds can go all over the place. The biggest conflict right now that's stirring the globe across the world right now is India, and I will address this. It is a sacred land now caught in political turmoil. Many years ago, when I studied about the Kundalini of the earth changing and moving, and one of the places where the Kundalini of the earth was coming in around India and going down through Africa, through Egypt, and that area, and down through along Greece. So you have this Madridian, this line of energy that comes down. And the Madridian started, the Kundalini of the earth started to really change. And it started to come along the Rocky Mountains. So coming all the way down there in the pathway, all the way down into South America. That's why, in around 2000 or so, you started to hear a lot more about um, countries in South America. A lot of people were going down more to South America, per se, than to India. When you heard like in the 60s, you started hearing a lot of people going in the 60s, even in the 40s, and even going way before that. Um, there have been many who went to or looked for guidance from India. I was, I follow on YouTube this one woman from Mapperton, and she is doing a study on her husband's great great grandmother, who came from she was one of those women that came from very well off means in the United States and married the aristocrats of England to keep their homes, to keep things going. But in her journal, she often wrote, and this is back in the late 1800s, turn of the century, where she wrote a lot about India and the guidance of India, and a guidance of a certain guru that she would she would ask for advice. So India has been a source of of this spiritual wealth, this sacredness. Your yoga is part of, Indian life, and it's part of a of overall well-being. And because when you get into yoga is not just for stretching. Yoga is to help to meditate, help to align the chakras, help to align um, our well-being. And now we have this country that is in conflict, and having this conflict. Now, this conflict between India and Pakistan has been around for a long time. And when I think it was in 1933, um, leave India. So yeah, no, 19. So officially, the British left in 1947. So with the passage of India's independence uh, and the independence of the nations of India and Pakistan. So the act, which came into effect in 1947, which is very much, if you look at what I've been talking about, the astrology and World War II and where we're going, is very much where a lot of this energy has been there. But since the Brits left India, there's always been a conflict, a fierce conflict between the Pakistanis and the Indians. Now, it is a huge history when you go into the history of India. India used to be a very huge country, like, the expansion, and then you've had where a lot of Muslim countries are there and around and have taken over parts of India. Pakistan is mainly a Muslim country. And the conflict that they have, where India is, when it comes to the religions, you have Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim, right? And there is Christians there as well. But the conflict there has always been, and where things of the tension that is happening now, and we can get into, if anybody wants to get in more to the history of India, it is very fascinating because India is also an isolated country for many, many years. There's there is parts of India, because of the way that India is formed in the mountainous and the deserts and the coastal line and everything. It is a very vast country. Like, it has um for organic farming, it is one of the top organic farming areas in the world. And their regulations on organic farming is one of the highest. And I know a lot of people don't realize that or know that. And that's because a lot of the farmers that farm the land are very connected to the land. That's why when a few years ago, a lot of farmers were committing suicide because they're so connected to that land. They're so connected to the energies of the land, and they work the land, not with tractors and that. They're still very connected. Same, with the Amish, and that brings in that connection with the land and how they um, till the soil and everything else with it. So it is a very powerful, powerful country. So we have that, with India and the sacredness, which is really sparking. I feel like this is the spark of of WW3. I think this is really the spark that's sort of the catalyst of this, of what is going to be happening in the world. And you see a lot of political things, a lot of things that went on around that before all of this happened. I mean, you had the VP go over there. You also had where India also made an agreement with Britain too, which is interesting, for trade. And so you have a lot of interesting things that happen behind the scenes, because I feel like they kind of knew that things were really escalating um, to this. We also have the Vatican. The cardinals are gathered in the conclave to choose a new pope, and however long this, I don't think it's going to be very long. I think they're going to get this going very quickly because they know they have to. It'll be interesting what type of pope, if it's more of a liberal or more of a conservative pope that they bring in, which will be quite interesting in the direction of where the largest religion in the world will be going. Spiritual signs that the power and traditions are shifting. Things are shifting. And we can see that with, through the conflicts that are going on within the world. This is, in the heavens with Pluto in Aquarius breaking down the old systems, Saturn and Neptune coming into, Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Aries. It's blurring reality to show us the truth, wanting to bring us this. And Mars in Leo is the pride. We have a lot of beautiful grounding energy today that is bringing in some really, with the sun in Taurus and the moon in Virgo. So this is really getting us to slow down, reroute, return what we need to nourish and nourish ourselves. And this is also with the moon in Virgo. We have to tend to the temple, purify what clutters the mind, releasing what is no longer, serving us. Let's get it out. This is where we have to, again, this is coming back to that surrendering. This is coming back to that peace within us, where we, what we need to stabilize in our lives. This isn't about us trying to control it, is we have no control. And once you realize you have no control, this is where you can allow for the ebbs and the flow to lead you. when things happen. And that's where I'm at. With me, there's always something, right? But I'm at it where I have to surrender. I have to allow for what happens. A lot of it with responsibility, some things I missed, in my own trying to get, in my own juggling, and sometimes you miss the ball, or you miss something that you felt like you should have been juggling, or I should have known this, I should have remembered this, I should have had, that shoulda. And that can cause the anxiety, that can cause the stress, that can cause the overwhelmness, instead of saying, okay, what are the strategies I can do to heal this, to work with this, and then allow for the divine to guide me upon this. And the North Node in Pisces is a quiet whisper. It's a surrender. This is there for 18, well, 16 months now. This is where we have to surrender and trust and dissolve the end of the need to control. And as we do this in amongst where we are seeing craziness with, the premier came out and did her speech, everybody's like nitpicking every single portion of it, to others who are like, no, we're, with the First Nations getting all upset without them actually listening to what's happening. Like, nobody's listening to what others are having to say. Nobody is allowing themselves to take that time to allow. I did an AI picture, and the picture I did was her sitting in amongst, and there's chaos all around her, and she's just sitting in meditation, in that peace, and sitting in that peace. There is, I think her name was Nettie. She died in 1943 in the concentration camps, and she was from the Netherlands. And her books were published in the 80s. Her journals were published, and she was not by any means a Christian or a good, what they'd call a good Jewish girl. She's a little bit of a flamboyant young woman for her time, and a little risque. But her writings, I mean, you wouldn't, when you listen to her writings and the closeness that she had to the divine, were very impressive. Like the little bits of that I've been listening to about her, she expressed, just because as the Nazis came into the Netherlands, how there was only certain places the Jews could go to. And the road, this one road that she was riding her bike, and she said the vastness and the openness of what God gives us, sometimes we overlook it. We overlook the beauty that is actually there right in front of us. And she continued this type of writing right up until she was killed in 1943. But she left a very vast amount of journals and writings on what had happened and what she had saw even within the concentration camps. You see that when with many who have gone through that, and how they found peace in amongst the chaos, how they have found where, uh, the freedom, and you wonder, how could you find freedom in such craziness? But they did. They found freedom within their devotion, within their connection with God. And I feel like that's where we're at right now, is that, well, we're coming very close to it, especially with so much pressure that is coming upon us. And we are needing to allow ourselves to find that surrender, and that it's going to help us with that stableness. And you and I, maybe your day didn't go to plan, maybe the schedules fell apart, maybe it feels like too much. But here's the truth. Your soul's timeline is never late. Your anchor isn't in your calendar, it is in your breath. And every time I look at the astrology, and every time I look at some of the words that are coming to me, I'm just like, I don't want to cry right now, are what I wrote in Journey Club, and bringing people to that connection. and bringing them to that place in their heart, that place of who they are and their connection with the Divine Mother and Father, and how prevalent that is right now, and that it isn't, it isn't the calendar. We can get really caught up in the calendar. We can get caught up in our day to day, and this needs to be done and that needs to be done, and we have to have all of this done. But the truth is, it's our breath, it's our life, it's our connections, it's our devotion. The sun in Taurus, as I say, slows us down. It reroutes us in order for us to return to the nourishment. The Virgo energy is the temple, your temple, purifying what clutters the mind. The earth energy is asking you to let go of the mental chaos and trust the now, right? And just trust in what and how this is coming through. The tarot card that I got today, and a lot of these, in what I'm doing lately is like it's through meditation, and then the card that comes to me um but it was the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is an old institutions are cracking. The voice of the divine is no longer reserved for the few. And today we got to trust our inner priestess. Your altar is your life. How are you setting up your life? How are you setting up your day to day? Like, what is the first thing you do in the morning? Are you giving thanks? Are you taking that breath and saying thank you? Or are you like jumping onto the phone and seeing what the craziness is of the world? And I find it so important to have that connection. So some of the energy tools today, again, is the holy basil and the essential oil myrrh. So holy basil, Tulsi, and you can get it as a tea, brings in clarity, protection, and heart-centered trust. Myrrh is for grieving what you didn't plan and making peace with what it is. So bringing in the energies of myrrh, or even getting the essential oils of myrrh, and allowing for yourself to grieving for what you didn't plan, right? But you got to make peace with what it is. And that's a hard one. And that's why you bring in the holy basil and you bring in the tea and allow. I'm bringing in coffee right now, just 411 for everybody. But bringing in that grounding. And the crystals we have is amethyst. So we bring in the amethyst, and I have the amethyst here. Sunstone, I couldn't find my sunstone this morning. My labradorite, I have right here. I have a bigger piece, and the smoky quartz. This is bringing in clarity, the amethyst does, and the sunstone is an empowering. It's beautiful, it's sparkly, and it empowers us, and it brings us joy. And the labradorite is having us to trust in the unknown, and the smoky quartz is getting us to ground our spirit and ground that energy. We can arrange these beautiful energies into a circle and let it speak, right? If you have enough, if you have 8 pieces of amethyst, I encourage you to put a circle down on the ground, make it into a big circle that you can go in and sit into it, or even labradorite, like any of these crystals. And you'll feel the energies. The smoky quartz, you will feel like when you go into the center of a smoky quartz grid, it's like, whoa, like it's like, oh. Labradorite is like brings you into a place that can illuminate, that allows you to see things that that's why you got to trust in the unknown, right? So working with these crystals is allowing yourself to not only heal but helping you to express yourself. And this is like, even when plans fall away, I remain center in this divine timing, allowing yourself to center, allowing yourself to come in to that peace and that solace within oneself. And this day, this week, and as we're building up to a full moon and building up to this beautiful, powerful full moon, is getting us to really look at what we are wanting to do. And it's a full moon in Scorpio. So full moons in Scorpio aren't easy, to say the least. Full moons in Scorpio are very difficult. They are ones that can bring in um, challenges. Full moons and Scorpios are depth and getting you to really look at your truth, right? It brings you down. It brings you into it's ruled by Pluto, and Pluto right now is squaring over to Scorpio energy, and it's getting you to really look at the transformation and changes that you need to make in your life so that you can allow yourself to rise like the phoenix. And in that rising, in that energy of this fullness that is building up right now, it is really bringing in the expansion of it. The co-ruler of Scorpio is Mars, and Mars is in Leo, so it's vibrant. It wants to go, it wants to get things done, right? So it's very explosive. There's an explosiveness to this energy. And we're seeing it as we are looking around within the world around us and within that structures. The one area that I found very interesting for whoopsie for energies right now is the quintile. Now, quintiles we don't speak about too much, but the Mars quintile with Uranus, this is a 72-degree angle. And this is the Mars quintile Uranus. So we have this, it's fascinating and subtle aspect, but it's full of electric energy and power, and are often, sometimes they're often overlooked. But they speak genius and innovation and the ability to synthesize the energies in unexpected ways. This isn't it's not loud like a square, which is 90 degrees. It's more a divine mischief disguised as inspiration. So we have the Mars in Leo. So it's bold, it's creative, it wants to be out there. It has a flair, right? And courage and sovereignty. Uranus in Taurus brings a slow burn revolution. And this, it looks at our values, of what Taurus is: values, our money, our land, our embodiment. So you're seeing this embodiment, you're seeing this struggle over the land, you're seeing the struggle over the resources, and the resources are very much you know in our faces, very much being shown to us, right? And this is where, especially when you go back to where Aries and Neptune, and what Neptune rules. Neptune rules things that are water, the oil, the gas. So you got to think of how that can be volatile in an energy that can be a spark. So the volatility of it all. So this quintile, with the Mars and Uranus, is unique ability to channel original, even rebellious actions in artistic and unconventional ways that can catch people off guard, but work. So this isn't a conflict oriented. It's alchemy, right? So you might find unusual bursts of courage or confidence to do something your past self wouldn't dare. So you might be speaking out about something that you never thought you would speak out about. You might find that you're deciding, oh, I want to create something that you never thought you would create. So these are break thought throughs in how you express your power, especially in creativity and even sexually. Radical yet elegant approach to program solving. The others find magnetic and baffling, unshakable loyalty to the soul's truth and expressed with unexpected grace. So, spiritually, this can feel like an ignition of the sacred fire that says, I don't need permission to be who I am. I need alignment. Again, that's coming back in to that alignment, to that truth, to that sovereignty, to that love of the divine to lead us. And if you're creating right now, this is beautiful energy for working magic, art, and motivation into activism. So this is very subtle rebellion through beauty and bravery. And this is where you want to create such beautifulness within this. So this is a creative energy, and if you want today to work with this energy, which is very vibrant and very radical and very fiery in this earthboundness that we're in, get a red candle, light a red candle, right? Get a bowl of earth of earth or salt or coins, something grounding, something very Taurian, right? And then pyrite or sunstone. That's very Mars and Leo. To a clear quartz or malachite. So that's very Uranian activation. And you can get a feather or a wind charm, which is to call in Uranus and the air and the change, and get a pen and a paper and journal. So this is where you light your candle, you place the bowl of earth in front of you, you hold the crystals, and then you breathe into your solar plexus. And you say aloud, the sacred fires of Mars strike the flint of my truth, and lightning of Uranus awaken my brilliance. I release the need for approval and rise in inspired rebellion, graceful, true, and free. Whew. And then you write it down. I'm going to post this on my page, and so that you guys can utilize it. But then you write down. I love to journal. So, what bold actions have I been afraid to take? What are you afraid of? What unique ideas? Because we're going to go back to that fear thing. Because if you're afraid of something, that means you're holding yourself back on something, or you're afraid to say something, right? So, looking at what you're afraid of, and what unique ideas or calling keeps returning to me. What keeps returning to you? I mean, of course, it's just like as I'm writing these things, I'm just like, oh my God, this is all everything that I'm going through right now. And how can I express this with both power and love? And you sprinkle the earth or the salt onto a piece of paper. Breathe into your chakra, your root chakra. You're grounding it. And this is not just a thought, it's becoming real. And light the candle, light the candle burn safely, um and let the candle burn. You can burn it out safely or you can snuff it out, but keep the journal page on your altar. So you can set up a little altar, you can have a little space on it. It doesn't have to be big or anything else, and then you can do it. All right, so there you go. See, I'm not just a pretty face. I'm not just a pretty face, right? I'm more concerned what's happening in the UK, because it'll come here next. Well, what's happening in the UK? That's just it. You can be with who you want. You don't need others to label you. Maybe so. What's happening in the UK? The UK is a very interesting array of energy. There is where finally the grape the grape groups are being called out, and more people are speaking out about the grape groups that are happening. And those grape groups are from a country that is in conflict right now, the India Pakistani. So they are from Pakistan, majority of these grape groups, and ones that love to groom, brush your hair, are being called out. And the things that are going on in the UK are horrific, and the crimes and everything else that are going on. There is an underlying, and I've spoke to many people who are there, and some people that I know that are there and who have come from there, who are saying that there is a rise of a grassroots rising to fight back, to say no more. And it's one where right now the political scheme of it all is that they're playing a double-edged sword, and trying to play this double-edged sword. And this double-edged sword it's going to cut them. It's going to cut those who are playing it, and how this is unfolding with it all. And this is where it's also looking at, I mean, there's so much here that is happening here. It's not only within within the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, when you say the United Kingdom, that includes Scotland and Northern Ireland. And the United Kingdom, when you're looking at that and the things that are happening in Ireland right now as well, and the people are rising up and saying no more. They're not taking it. And there's a real rise up with the men, and a real push to push the men down. So there is this conflict, but this is all part of this spiritual transformation that we're going through, of of coming into that masculine, true masculine energy that wants to lead, wants to protect, wants to make sure family and well-being is together. There's all these little things that are happening, these little sparks that are going on, that are creating a new world for us, right? And in this creating of newness, they're making Islam and their rights are more important. They are. There is that push too, but there's also a push backwards. People, it's a slow burn, right? This is what we call, with especially when you see, and this is partially some of the things that I'm going to be bringing up within the class on Neptune and Saturn coming together in Aries, with the helio and the geocentric energies coming together in Aries, and then the full one coming together next year in February, on how this spark, this alignment is happening within the world. And the slow burn is when people are really awakening to what is happening to their children, what is happening to their women, and even with here. And right now, you're going to, I mean, especially what's happening in India, you're going to see a lot of that conflict come over here, because we have a huge Indian and Pakistani people that are here, and people are going to start really rebelling. Like, that's the revolution. That's the revolution. There has been courts that have been set up, but those some of the courts that have been set up, um, Islamic courts that have been set up, are not some of them are well, they are not recognized by the high court or the courts of the land. And there's some conflict that's happening within that. It's where, again, that double-edged sword that the governments are playing are going to come back to sever their heads. I mean, that's why, the energies of Uranus and Elgo are coming in, and Uranus, it's off with their heads. And Uranus is igniting. Uranus is uranium, right? And that uranium energy. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. You leave that where it needs to be. And the grape groups and the grooms grooming ones, um are ones that are a lot of them are, well, they're from Pakistan, because that's a high Muslim area, right? So that conflict is growing, and that conflict where people are saying, these are not my values. This is not what I, um, you know, this is not what I want to create. And that's partially too where, I mean, we just saw, I think, our prime minister get humiliated, in front of a person who, um, who stood up for his own country. Like him or hate him, I don't give I don't, rat's ass, really. But it's a person who's saying, no, this is what I'm doing for my country, and it's going to be a hard knock, but this is what we have to do in order to bring in peace, to bring in more of an influx into, you know and it's tearing off the band-aid of a wound, and the wound is pussy and gross, and the world is pussy and gross, and it needs this healing. And when you look at the astrological alignments that are happening right now, it's getting chaotic, it's getting crazy. We look at the WEF, the unelected new leader, is Nestle's, and Nestle's is one of the worst corporations in the world, right? They don't do things to help to make the world better. They do you know, what they are wanting to create. What is it? Berkshire, with a Warren Buffett, who just stepped down, which is, a lot of people don't think much about that. But with him stepping down, he still has affiliation with it. But it's it's where for him, I mean, once he's I look at it this, once Warren Buffett is out of the picture, because he is the stock market. He is the one who's made that stock market and sort of held it together and let people know the ins and outs of it. And this is where it's, once he's gone, you're going to see, even a bigger crash. And I think there is an affiliation with him and the government saying, just, I know you're 95. He doesn't have much longer to live. I don't think he's going to be around for another 5 years. That's for sure. Unless, well, maybe he will. Maybe they'll make him an android. Who knows? But with his knowledge and things that he knows, I mean, his company, Berkshire, it's huge. It's huge. The things that he made. I mean, he's made a huge. We need him to clock out already. Yeah, he wants to clock out. He's tired. He's done. But this is where, trying to hold things together with a thin thread. And when you're trying to hold everything together with a thin thread, and then you have, people are saying, well, who cares about the Pope? Who cares about all of this? And I'm just like, holy fuck, you guys don't know. Again, you want people to see the craziness and the things that are going on. The Pope he has more influence on the world than, you just, there's more to JD Vance meeting the Pope on the last day when he died, and then going to India, and then the out and everything. There's these little triggers. I mean, he was sent there to do things. Basically, I think he said, "Here, it's time for you to take the black pill, right? Here's the black pill. It's time for you to time out, Betty. This is it. We need this freshness in here." And that's what they're trying to decide right now, what kind of freshness in amongst the conflict and the craziness that's happening in the world, and wanting to get somebody in there that's going to be, I think there's one who's from the Congo. He's very conservative, but he knows shit. He knows, and he's called popes, and he's called, others out, when they've done things and they've tried to shut him up. And then there's the one from America, which is very much in alignment to the same Pope that came in during World War II. I mean, his birth chart and everything else, which is very interesting, as well. But they've never had an American Pope, right? And to have an American Pope, well, fuck. I mean, you think it was? Do you think Trump dressing up as a Pope was just ha 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 ha? If an American Pope comes in, holy fuck, the power that the United States will have, it'll be crazy. It will be crazy. That's just like, this is like, you want, because the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, when the Empire of Rome fell, the church engulfed it all. It became Rome, like it is Rome, right? The Roman Empire. And you're taking where the United States is very much built on like the Roman Empire. It is from their constitution and the writing of their constitution. I mean, they took things from Plato. They took things from different parts of history to write their constitution, right? And My brain's just goes, "Zzz." See what you did to me, Candace? It was, zzz, all this, sorry, not Candace. Just so much energy comes through. Anyways, information comes through. But this is where the Nile is the river of America. Then you have the Kundalini of the earth that has switched from India and Egypt over to the Rocky Mountains and all the way down into Peru and all the way down to the south tip of South America and all the way up into the Americas and all the way up into the Northwest Territories. That is the new Kundalini of the earth. So, what does that mean? That's a new expansion. We even have the Madridian, or the fault line is changing. That's why you're going to find so many earthquakes and everything else. The fault lines are changing. That's even like scientists are like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? So they're finding the fault lines are starting to change, right? And this is thank you. This is where, the energies are vibrantly changing. This is where things are coming, where 2025, this is the zit being popped. This is where people are going to be going through, and it's going to take them like this summer, the summer of kind of like the summer before World War II, the summer before everything, the Blitz happened, and how everything started to go crazy in the world, and the bombing of Pearl Harbor and everything else like that. This is where it's they don't want to face it, and they sit in the love and the light. Yeah, well, they're fucked. They're doing their little spiritual bypassing and not looking at the truth of what the fuck's going on. And all these people that are talking to AI is just repeating everything that has been told fucking 1,000 years ago. If you're listening to any of these AI people, oh, look at, I talked to AI and this is what it said. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I've been talking about that for how many years? And that was before fucking AI, right? you know it's like, everything, like when I taught in the Journey Club and everything else, I didn't have AI to do that. I didn't have, oh, let me look at, I mean, AI is a great assistance. Chat GPT is a great assistance to help me to look into things. It's trying to helping me then, instead of buying 1,000 books, which I don't need anymore. But but gives me references to go down and go look at other things and stuff like that. Just lay that right there, please, baby. I think there's room. And that's where we're at. That's what's happening. But the good part is that at least they're listening to this. They're listening. They're like, oh, look at what this is happening. And maybe they're awakening that way. Maybe that's what it is that this is the new type of awakening for people who are sitting in their basements and trying to figure shit out, right? But how things, the scary part is that India or Pakistan don't give a fuck about you. They never have and they never will. Just saying. India and Pakistan have more nuclear weapons than you could shake a stick at. And they will use them. And a lot of people, a lot of, as are saying, a lot of these psychic mediums and stuff that are going on and saying, oh, no, they won't use them. They don't give a flying fat's ass about you. Their spirituality is totally different. And if you've gone into Hinduism or Sikhism, even Hindus, I mean, they're supposed to be love and light. They don't kill cows, and they have all these gods and stuff like that. Have you looked at their gods? Have you looked at Kali? Have you looked at any of them? They're not exactly like, "Ooh, let me go and warm up to the monkey god," kind of thing. No, they're there. They will fight back. They're you know, this is where the change will happen. This is the old world ending and the new world starting up, and how that needs to happen. Because how that needs to happen for mankind, because mankind is a killing machine. Do we want to admit that? No, we don't. But we are. And this is where this energy is coming in, and this is where, when you look at the devil, you will call him the devil, right? Let's call the devil will come in. He will use that energy. He will use that energy. Why do you think that there is so much, like, women wanting, oh, I don't want to have a baby, I will have a surrogate. To me, I know. I'm sorry you can't have children, but there are many beautiful children out there that can be adopted and brought into love. But a lot of these people, even was it Halle Berry that mentioned that her child was just sort of a meat sack or something stupid like that? Like, what the fuck? I mean, she was showing her minge out to the world on Monday. It's like, how old are you, and where's your self-respect? Oh my god, Satan has gotten into you. That's all I got to say to that one. Right? People who adore, people who put the Kardashians in that up on an idol, right? Or The View is another one of a bunch of evil women together. They might have done something beautiful in the past, but now they've been taken over by some kind of sinister, which is the mundane, which is what the other Taurus. You want to know the bad part about Taurus? Taurus, money, control, earthbound. I'm having this. Have you ever seen a bull in heat? He's fucking getting out there. He's going to do what he wants to do. He doesn't give a fuck about you. And that's where we're at. That's the truth. I mean, I want to bring you spiritual love and everything else, but out of the spiritual love, you have to come in, and you have to come into an understanding of divineness and love and truth, and come into that groundedness, but come into it with your eyes wide open. The bad part about dealing with Taurus women. Yeah. I mean, it's earth energies are not easy. And then you're adding a spark to the dryness, a spark to things that are coming in, and you got the water god coming in, Neptune, into the sparkiness, and he controls oil and gas and everything like that, right? So what happens when you light a spark to that? It explodes. And it goes, and it causes havoc. It controls the land. So now we have the First Nations already freaking out before anything fucking happens. But here they are so dependent upon the government for everything, and wanting this government to save them. They're not looking at the truth of their sovereignty and who they are. Hate to say it. All the promises that the government has brought out for them have fallen. Right? They spoke too soon. They're not looking at the truth of it. It's like, no, we want to keep. Well, nobody wants to take this is, we're here together. Nobody's going anywhere, right? We're here in this land together. We got to make it work, and we are looking at where we can have our sovereignty, grow, prosper, become united in different ways and understanding, without trying to fucking kill each other. But here you get, some unhinged people who are coming in and saying, oh, but look at this. I mean, and this is with, indigenous people throughout the earth. Look at what's happened to the Irish people. You don't look at them as being indigenous, but they are. Or the people in Britain, the people in Sweden. Those are indigenous people. But we don't think of it that way. They're being invaded as well. But the truth, the wholeness of it, is we're all indigenous to this world, Gaia. Right? And that's the whole thing. And how many people, I mean, for me, my heritage, my lineage goes back to Ireland. We can go all the way back. So far, I've gone back to, I think, the 14th century to Ireland. And England. There's a little bit of English. A little bit of French and a little bit of German snuck in there through the back door. as they always do. The French and the German come in through the back door. Irish Maury, you know, and the things that are happening. Nobody's looking what the fuck the shit that's happening in Australia. Look at the government they just voted back in. It's just like, oh my god, you guys didn't learn from the past few years. Obviously not, right? Or what's happening in New Zealand. You know, people are rising up. They're trying to make their statements saying, no, we're not taking this. Right? It's that control that comes in. And here in Canada, nobody's trying to take over the First Nations land or anything else. But the thing is that they've become too like there are sovereign nations in Canada, which people don't talk about. That you know, some of them are in BC, where they have became sovereign, independent. Being independent, that means they're not relying on the government for shit. But if you go on their land and you want to drill, well, you're dealing with the people, which it should be, because this is my backyard. You want to drill in my backyard. What does that mean for me? What does that look like? Blah 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 blah. Right? Yeah, they're getting smashed hugely. You know, they're getting controlled. A girlfriend of mine's sister who lives there, who owns a farm, and they're just coming down on her so hard on what they can farm, what they can't farm, what they can't see. And that's all coming from the WEF, and it's coming from the WHO and all of this. They're fucking trying to scare you over measles right now. You know, and I'm not saying measles is any disease like that is bad. Polio's bad, any of that. But the thing is that we're going off onto another tangent. Look and see what's in the fucking vaccine. And now we're going to bring in the devil again, and why so many people want to have abortions and want to promote the abortions, because, and especially later abortions, right? And what's in the vaccine. And a lot of people don't want to look at that, right? Because in early on abortion, say in like the first few weeks of being pregnant, right? There really isn't much there, honestly. You know, I understand pro-life and everything else like that, but I mean, in utilizing that to use it for evil means, you don't have what they need for using as evil means. Right? You get that afterwards. You get that in the second trimester and the third trimester of what they can manipulate and utilize, which is horrific. But again, we don't have people talking about that. They don't want to talk about that because, oh my God, I'm going to offend somebody. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at with all of this beautiful astrology, the shenanigans. The gods of the heavens are trying to wake us up and say, wake up. Get uncomfortable. And if you're not going to wake up, we're going to hammer this down on you until you fucking wake up. And that's where this year is. We're at wake up time. Right? I mean, personally, if there's a retreat in Costa Rica and stuff like that, would I personally go to it? I would. It sounds wonderful. I'm not drawn to it, but I'd be very leery about going to going somewhere. Although I do want to go to Lalande. I do want to go to France. Although I don't want to go to France right now because it's crazy and turmoil and everything else. But I do want to go to Lalande and the chateau. But hey, that's a dream in my head one day. You know, and same with being here in Canada. It's like looking at even what I do, me speaking out, me doing this. Could they turn around and utilize it on me one day? Probably. You know, throw me in some kind of gulag or whatever it is, because I'm an astrologer and I'm a psychic and I'm a medium and I speak truth and I speak the spirituality and I want to empower people. Yeah, they're doing that in the UK right now. And they're wanting to do that here in Canada. What do you think the law is that Mr. Circus wants to bring in? Right? He just went down there. He didn't go down there to change anything because he knows he can't change anything. He knows he can't do anything. There's no way of convincing the man. No. You know, and then you got these lovely, so-called know-it-all women who think, oh well, we're for you, we're for you. Fuck you, you're not for me. You go back into your beautiful house and your everything else. You don't know you're totally disassociated from the rest of the world, and you have no idea what else is going on.
Well, he don't know me, so
That's right. He don't know Steve, so it doesn't matter. you know and and people are all upset. Oh, he's rounding up all of these people. They need to be rounded up. I'm looking at when my grandmother and grandfather came to this country. They paid to come to this country. They had to save up. They didn't have a hell of a lot after World War One in England. There was like nothing. There was no work. There was nothing. Everything was pummeled and destroyed over a stupid little man who was mad at his mother because he was deformed at birth. He had one leg shorter than the other, and he wanted to get back at England. If you want to get to some of the nitty gritty of World War One and Germany. And what did they do to them? They just basically allowed him to live somewhere else out, for the rest of his life. Candace, they love you, Stephen. But and so pummeled England, and they pummeled it again in World War II. The Germans came in, and look at the government that's trying to get into Germany right now. You think Germany's learned its lesson? That's another scary factor, but nobody wants to talk about it. The Queen of Cups reversed popped out. Of course she popped out. Oh, through this all, you could buy me a coffee. Help keep my lights on. Our readings are on for $88. So I have my readings that are on right now. Let's go back to promoting me. It's all about me, people. It's all about me. Although all through the Canadian elections, I kept hearing Adolf Hitler's name. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the person who's in right now, he looks like a Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland. So he doesn't, his wife self-published a book a few days before and called herself the first lady or something, and becoming the first lady. And she did a self-published book which has a rating of 1 star. Days before he was appointed as prime minister. So we know that things are in play. We know things are happening right now.
Yo.
And this is right now, there are some kind of difficulty in expressing feelings and emotions, and a tendency for escapism. Welcome to Neptune. Right? And this is where it's like people want to escape. People want to, they don't want to deal with their emotions. Right? That's why people get mad at me or don't want to talk to me, because I make you deal with your fucking emotions, because I'm a Scorpio. The Cancer moon. I want you to feel this. He's like, I don't want to feel this. Well, you have to feel it, because you got to feel it to change it. You got to know it to change it. Once you recognize it and understand it, then you can change it. You can heal it. You can transform it. Otherwise, this is where things can get, things can get really crazy. So this is the insight. Where is my fire ready to break through? The Queen comes in reversed. Where's my fire to break through? Am I emotional empath who may pick up attachments from negative situations? What negative situations have I picked up, and what do I need to release? And I need to release that now. And with that, with Uranus magic, we have the 10 of Pentacles coming in. So the magic is our family. The magic is what we've created, what we've done, right? That's the magic. We have it. We know it. It's there. We have it within our DNA. We have it within who we are as human beings, and the transformation and the changes as humans that are coming in, right? Who are we as humans? That is changing, that is evolving. We are evolving humans. We're coming into a more of a conscious being. So this is very very important. Oh yeah, a connection to the crown as well as Carney working the Bank of England, the King. And oh yeah, but did you know that with Prince William, Carney's brother is in charge of Prince William's portfolio? Yeah, very interesting. Conflict of interest. Yeah. So when he went over to England, he basically can just go knock on the door. Hi. And the king's like, "Yeah, come on in, bro. Let's have a shot of whiskey or whatever." Right? And the thing is that right now they're wanting to change the Church of England, the word church to community. The community of England. What the hell? So as I say, the rewriting of spirituality, the rewriting of how we believe and everything in the whole structure is changing, and how we want it to change. Right? We have, within our own selves, within our own, participation within it is happening rapidly. Then we ask, how can I express this in a soul alignment? By rising up. How can I express it? I got to rise up. I got to speak out. I have to say what I need to say. I mean, this is where it's like you see where people can no longer allow themselves to be and the word attachment, or attached to things, attached to what this world or what you think this world should be. You got to release that attachment in order for you to rise out and see the light, to see the dawn. Because we have, when it comes to the mundane, the muggle stuff, we have that. But somehow we've picked up a lot of crazy shit that we need to let go of. So we have to rise up to it. We have to rise up to that and seeing what that rising is. But sometimes we don't want to. We're attached to labels. We're attached to the way things are supposed to be. We're attached to, or the fear that a man can be too strong. That fear of the man being too strong. And that the woman has to carry it all. I mean, that's the whole thing that's wrong with our society. Oh, women have to carry it all. They have to be the strength. They have to do this. No, that's not the way it's supposed to be. Right? We're supposed to have that energy. We're supposed to have that masculine and feminine energy to coexist. The masculine energy is supposed to allow for the feminine energy to ignite, to allow them to express themselves, to utilize their intuition. Well, the masculine, brings in that protection and safety and security. That's, and be spiritually strong and not afraid for them to step into their own spirituality and their own way of being. Women's rights was just another formation of putting women into a world that wants to mutilate and change them and have them be something they are not, and create a mismanagement of what it means to have family and to create that family unit. Family units are so important for the cultivation of the children. Children are important to this world. We need the children. But there's a mutilation that's happening within the children. There's more slavery in this world today than there ever has been. That's something to think about. A lot of people don't want to look at that. More slavery today than there ever has been. You thought it was bad in bringing the Africans over to America? You know who they brought over before they brought over the Africans? Were the Irish. They brought droves of the Irish over here to work the land. They were the first slaves. Or what the Arabs did. The Arabs used to go along the coastline of Europe and used to go on to just as bad as what the Vikings did and round up. They didn't care who they rounded up. They castrated the men and used the women as slaves, right? Yeah, because Americans don't like talking about the Irish. No, but I mean, that's that was part of it. And it wasn't just white men going into Africa. It was Africans selling Africans, right? And now we have, it's just like it's other things like women selling their children because they don't have food to put on their for their other children. In the Philippines, there's such a high increase of female births in the Philippines and in some areas that women are just selling their daughters off, because they can't afford them. How horrific is that? What kind of nation is that? Right? So we have to rise up. There's a rising up. This is like knowledge is power. You may not be able to do anything about it. It's like you want to go out there and rescue them all, but you can't. This is where prayer comes in. This is where your prayer, your meditation, your connection to the higher ones, to the divine comes in. This is where you have to understand what you say and how, if you vote, how you vote and why you should vote. Even though it's a corrupt system, it's our system that we have right now, and it's the only fucking one we got. If you don't have it and you go around miserably and saying, well, I don't vote, it's going to be what it's going to be, then when shit hits the fan and they come in and take your children, they take shit from you, you're the only one to blame. I hate to say that. And I know a lot of people, and I understand, I get it. And our final card is the moon card. I hate this card. Why do I hate this card? I hate this card because it is one that you really have to look into. It's one that brings in it brings in your dreams and your intuition and your mystery, but it also brings in a lot of fear. This is where, the psychic power is typical described as harboring or of disillusionment. This is where it's we want to bring in the positive aspect of this, right? But sometimes with this, it's like it's the shadow, it's the energy of the shadow that can come in, right? Somebody agrees with me and they hate the moon card. It is about how can I tune into my psychic ability and trust it in amongst all of the shadow and everything else that comes in and that gets us to bring in our self-doubt, right? The bullshit is coming in and it's going to fuck with me. Yeah. It's things are coming in and it's getting you to look at, question, and really look in deeply to what is going on. And I feel like the moon addresses our shadow thoughts. And sometimes we don't want to address our shadow thoughts. We don't want to see our shadow. We don't want to see those parts of ourselves because it's scary. But it's in seeing those parts of ourselves and understanding that, hey, you know what? I have those evil thoughts or bad thoughts. And I do sometimes want to go and punch somebody in the throat. Or, I do have that energy that I can do something that's wrong, but I'm going to trust in my God and my goddess that they're going to lead me to somewhere better. And even though I cannot see the fullness of it all, I got to trust in the rising up, in what the knowledge that I do have within me to take the steps to bring in the creative changes that need to be brought in to this world at this time. The power of your mind is limitless. It is limitless. And the craziness that's happening throughout the world. I mean, you could go to what's happening in Sweden and Switzerland right now, and and what they're doing in destroying their own selves because of some stupid wokeism or some kind of ideology of thinking. But then to me, when I look at that, I'm seeing the evil seep into them. And evil can look good. Evil can look very kind and nice and smell wonderful and be loving. But it's in that they draw you into their deceitfulness and warp what is the truth, warp what is happening out there. So there we are, my dear loved ones. So buy me a coffee, send some money my way. Mama needs to pay some bills, otherwise I won't be here. And I ask for the Lord and the Lady to watch over each and every one of you. I have a lot of things going on. We do have the readings. We do have the Sacred Summer series that is happening. We also have the fire. My brain just went. My brain just went down. We have the March 24th Soul Fire, the new cycle of the Divine Will. So this is going to be aligned with the new spiritual structure. Build your altar, ignite your divine path, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to ignite this new spiritual structure that's coming in within us, which is really creating a new DNA within all of us. So in a positive way. I'm gonna say in a positive way. So sending you guys out so much love. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all you say and all you do and all you be. Shine your light. Don't be afraid to speak out and be your truth of who you are. God bless and the God is bless. Bye-bye.